Now that Lee Priest has his IFBB Pro card, he's obviously reinstated. Will we see him on an IFBB stage in 2025? Stay tuned.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Bodybuilding, non-bodybuilding, whatever you have on your mind, Dave is here to take your questions over the course of the next half hour. We are going to jump right into the questions. The first two questions on this show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app, available on the Google Play Store as well as the Apple. What do you call that again? The iPhone Store, the Apple Store? Apple Store.
iTunes Store. I call it the iTunes Store. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
one of the 38 people in America that still have an Android, so I have no idea what happens with the other side. But anyway, these first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Synthol used for upper chest near the collarbone, 1 cc each side. Is that enough, or will it just be lumpy?
Yeah, I've talked about this, about injecting the upper inner pecs, before you train them. I don't know necessarily know. I mean, you can use synthol or you can use like regular gear. I don't like to put too much here because it will look fake. But what even a half a cc of like testosterone in there, like on either side, it kind of creates a little inflammation. It kind of gives you a little bit more, shelf like looking there. And when you train it, you feel it a little more because it's inflamed a little bit. And I find that when back in my day when I was doing it, I would just do like I said, half cc of test on each side. And I just felt like I grew better because I was able to feel the muscle better there. Yeah, if you start pumping lots of oil into that area, it's going to get lumpy and look ridiculous. So you don't want to do that. So less is better for sure. But a little bit definitely helps because, like I said, you can feel it better when you're contracting. And you do get a little bit of swelling in that area. So it kind of fills out that little, sometimes it's a little flat in the upper inner pecs on most guys. And so it fills it out just a little bit. So yeah, that's probably a good technique.
Second question, again, these first two from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. How recently or how often do you personally run your keto diet currently, and for how long do you run it? So you yourself running your own keto diet. Do you then transition into your carb cycling? Interesting question. And your approach, and if you've done that recently, and would you go into your carb cycling protocol?
I have about 0% body fat. So if I'm horrified by how I know Arnold said he looked in the mirror the other day and he said he was horrified when he saw it. He couldn't believe how his physique has fallen apart as he's gotten older. And Arnold still trains and everything like that. And I feel the same way. I look at myself and I have no body fat on my body. I have like strided glutes because I don't overeat and I have a really fast metabolism. And I take I do everything right. But the point is that I don't like the way my body looks, because I'm just older and things don't sag a little bit here and there. But because I have 0% body fat, I can't do no carb diets because if I don't eat carbs, I'll start losing massive amounts of muscle because my body's metabolism requires it. So some people just shouldn't do ketogenic diets. If I was eating like 6 and 8 times a day again, I might be able to do a ketogenic diet because I'd be eating a lot more food. But there's no reason for it. So I'm eating like 5 times a day now. So I can eat, I don't eat excessive carbs. I would probably be considered low carb because I'm probably eating, I don't know, maybe 200 grams of carbs a day, which is for me, if that much, for me is not a lot. It's probably more like 150. I eat about 175 grams of protein, and then I eat a lot of fat. I put a lot of fat. So I'm kind of eating like a modified ketogenic diet. I'm probably not in ketosis, but I would consider myself eating lower carb. Now, if I had to lose weight or if I had to drop body fat because I was holding body fat, I would absolutely have no problem doing a ketogenic diet because I like the way I feel. And I used to do it when I would compete. And I had a fast metabolism, but I just liked it. So I was able to eat more food. I ate a lot of like steak or, ground beef. I would eat like a lot of salmon, and I would put like olive oil and there was no macadamia at all back then. And so I would use olive oil. I would use, avocados. And so I really enjoyed the protein fat, the taste of it. It made me feel full. And when I ate low carb, I looked good. My body looked good. It didn't hold water. And so I would do that for like 3-4 days in a row. And then I'd have like a cheat meal, every once in a while. I'd throw a McDonald's meal in there. And toward the end of my career, my metabolism was so crazy, and I was eating McDonald's every day, but I would eat mostly ketogenic the rest of the day, and I would just have that one McDonald's meal. So you can't really go by like genetic freaks like me, metabolism wise, because that's not really I'm not going to give you valid advice. But for an average person, I usually, if they have to lose a lot of weight, and when I have people come to me and they're really, really have a lot of blubber on them, so to speak, they do very well in a ketogenic diet, especially people that are not disciplined, because when you take away the need to use carbs for the brain, you have an unlimited fuel supply, right? Because ketones, which are fats, essentially, if you have a lot of body fat, your body's going to have an unlimited source of fuel for the brain. And that's the key, because most people fail on their diet because they cheat because they're hungry, right? Their blood sugar drops. When your blood sugar drops, you can rationalize eating anything. But if your blood sugar never drops because you're not using blood sugar, you're using fat as fuel on a ketogenic diet, you're not going to get those drops. You're not going to feel that way. And you're not going to be hungry between meals because you're going to be eating your meals every 2-3 hours. So ketogenic diets work really well in that capacity. Now, some guys, like a lot of bodybuilders that compete, what I do with them is I give them some days of protein and fat, which would be the ketogenic type of diet, and then other days where they're eating carbs. So I start them off like on 3 days of carbs, and then 1 day of no carbs, just to kind of like, shock their body a little bit. And if they need it because their bodies are not responding, I'll do more days of just the protein and fat diet and less days of carbs. And I change the rotation around. Whereas some people do carbs every day, but they cycle high, medium, low. I like to go like no carbs because then I can give them more fat on those days. And I think that it's a mistake to go too low in fat. If you're eating carbs, you can't eat a lot of fat because you got to get rid of something, right, to lose calories. So I like the idea that I do protein fat one day because I can load them on a good amount of fat to make sure their body is getting what they need. Because remember, if your body thinks it's fat deprived because you're not getting enough essential fats or you're not getting enough of the good healthy fats, your body will also hoard body fat. So it's nice to have those ketogenic days, even if it's once or twice a week, to kind of let the body know, here, you got all the fat you need. You're not going to get carbs in those days. You got all the fat you need, and then the next day you go back to carbs again. So those rotational diets seem to work better with the top level bodybuilders that I work with. Like I said, the people who have a load of body fat, they do better on a pure ketogenic diet. Women, I only do ketogenic diets with women. Very few women do I do carbs with. They all do very well in ketogenic diets because most women have cravings and cheat. And so ketogenic diets really restrict that, take that away. And once again, these are 2 great questions coming from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. I know you guys support that app. I have a lot of app members. It's $29 a month. Once again, you download it from the Android store or the App Store. And you get access to all my writings, all my videos I've ever done, everything, all my protocols, drug protocols, diets, off-season pre-contest, men and women. We do a video every week. Q&A, just like this Ask Dave, especially just for the app members. So you get an extra Ask Dave every week. Put up a workout every week. It's a great source. I answer everyone's questions in an open forum so you can learn from everyone's questions and everyone's answers. It's a great learning tool. And, if you're really interested in bodybuilding or being a coach or just having knowledge, this is a way to constantly keep adding to your knowledge base. So thanks.
So those two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Before we go on to the rest of our questions, Dave, we do have a deal to announce from our friends at Titan Medical Center.
Yes.
They have a therapy of the week. It's called MOTS-C. It's a peptide therapy. MOTS-C is a mitochondrial derived peptide. If you want to tell the audience a little bit more about this
Yeah.
deal from Titan Medical Center.
Yeah, MOTS-C is a peptide that fortifies and makes the mitochondria work better and more efficiently. The mitochondria of the cells are the energy powerhouses that oxidize fats. So when they perform better, they're going to burn more fat. Okay, you're going to synthesize muscle better. It's one of these peptides that has a lot of longevity benefits as well as fat loss benefits. And it's really, if you're looking to lose body fat, it's really nice to stack this MOTS-C with like a GLP-1 analog, like the Mounjaro or Ozempic, and they have that at Titan Medical too. They have the tirzepatide and semaglutide, which is the chemical names of those Mounjaro and Ozempic. So you might want to stack two of those together for ultimate fat burning. I have a lot of my clients on the tirzepatide, which is the Mounjaro, especially the women who like to snack between meals. You know who you guys are, and they do very well on that modality because it really takes away the cravings. Adding the MOTS-C could also benefit and enhance that fat burning as well. The people at Titan are very knowledgeable. If you call them up, you can go to titanmedicalcenter.com, get the phone number, call them up. They can educate you on all the different therapies they got. They got the special this week on the MOTS-C. Check it out.
So the special for MOTS-C is $100 off till January 31st. So we have a couple of days.
Yeah.
Believe I'm looking up the Titan.
Speaking of January 31st, Sid,
yeah,
we have a species sale that's only a couple more days too. We are giving away. We have only a few bottles left. We have probably got a couple, maybe 100 bottles left. So you better act quickly. Any purchase at speciesnutrition.com, that's any. You can buy a shaker cup. You can buy a T-shirt. You can buy whatever you want. Testalize, Omegalize. You can buy the bottle of Mac oil. Whatever you buy, I will give you 2 free bottles of our nighttime sleep aid and fat burner, Somalize. I use it every night, year round. 3 pills before bed, 15 minutes before bed. You'll never have a better night's sleep. The GABA component relaxes your brain. So if you have a lot of thoughts running through your brain at night, this will relax your brain. The melatonin will keep you in a deeper sleep. And we know melatonin has so many great benefits for the body. You're going to get 2 free bottles, not just 1, 2 free bottles. They expire at the end of the month, but I can't sell them after that, but they don't go bad. So you can still use them. And if you've never tried the product, this is a great opportunity. If you're a user of Sunlight, it's even a better opportunity, for you to get more bottles. Once we run out, however, that's going to be it. But you have till the end of the month, January 31st. Act quickly. Don't come crying to me and say, I forgot. Morning.
So we'll put out another email blast for that as well. But for Titan, $100 off for the MOTS-C treatment. Titan MOTS-C is the promo code. We'll put the discount code in the article description below, and you have till the end of the month as well at speciesnutrition.com. 2 free bottles of Somalize for the next 2 days. Again, they're short dated. We only have 100 bottles left. So this is your only opportunity. Any purchase, any minimum order amount, you literally go buy a shaker cup, you will get 2 bottles of Somalize. It's a very unique situation. It's a very unique deal. So take advantage, speciesnutrition.com. Also, article description below. Let's go on to the questions. Questions from our Instagram page, from our YouTube community page. This one might be a little bit of a homework assignment. If you could eat 3 foods for protein, 3 foods for carbs, and 1 food for fats, what would they be? Now, he kind of also goes on to say, would you, as in a now scenario versus a contest prep. But let's stick to just as far as your go-to foods: 3 for protein, 3 for carbs, and 1 for fats.
Salmon's number 1. That's my favorite, right? I don't know if he wants me to say individual fishes, but I'll put salmon up there. I do love chicken too, so I have to say that's number 2, and whole eggs. So that's my protein sources. Carbs, I'm really a rice guy. I've been really into my basmati rice lately, so I like the basmati rice. When I was dieting, I did go through a stage where I really was into white potatoes too, and I like sweet potatoes. So those are probably my 3 favorite, carb. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go white potatoes, basmati rice, and grits. Well, I really do like grits, so that's better than oatmeal too. Oatmeal always bloated me. And for what if I had to pick one fat source? That's a
Yeah,
hard.
one fat source.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would go with avocados because they're the most satisfying, I think, to me. Especially on a contest diet, they're really delicious. So, there you go.
Last week, I know actually earlier this week, there was a picture of an IFBB Pro card that has been circulated all over the bodybuilding Instagram sphere belonging to Lee Priest. So Lee Priest is now an updated IFBB professional. And obviously, it's going to spark all sorts of questions as far as, oh, well, why would he do that? Okay, is it to keep current with his membership, or does he have plans to step on a stage, perhaps a Masters Olympia, perhaps elsewhere? What do you know, or what is your gut feeling? Is Lee Priest making a comeback now that he's updated his IFBB Pro status?
I look. I talked to Lee, but you have to read between the lines with Lee. I think he got the pro card number one to see if he can get it. In other words, I think it was a curiosity to see if they would actually give it to him. Number one, which they did. So obviously he's an IFBB pro in good standing, which answered one question, right? Number two, they did have that new rule that came out, like you have to get a pro card. I don't know if that motivated him at all, because if anything, that would probably demotivate him. So I have to believe he kind of did it as a goof to see if he would get it. But in the back of his head, he might be thinking that he might want to get on a stage. Now, I don't know if he's thinking Masters Olympia or if he's thinking about doing a regular show. He's being a little hush-hush on that. Right now, by the way, I want to send out some prayers to him because he's not doing so well. He was on a big tour of Europe, and he had a 42-hour flight back to Australia, and he had got a really bad case of pneumonia, so he's in the hospital. So prayers out to Lee Priest. Love the guy, and I love you, Lee. Just rest up, get over this, and then you'll get back to the gym. But so I don't know if he's going to get on the stage or not. We'll have to get him on the show and try to debrief him a little bit. But I think that the pro card thing was to see if he could get the pro card, and he got it. So we're one step closer to seeing Lee compete again.
Dave, we may actually have to do a separate video of this. We used to do a show or a feature called Versus, and it was actually very popular. What we would do is we would take essentially fantasy matchups, right? Like, people always say, well, I would love to see Phil against Ronnie or Dorian against name whoever from today.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk recently, and I think, and I'm going to have to find this somewhere, but I think KEONE made a statement about how, and then again, I don't want to misquote him, but
that he would be,
I'll just put it this way. Yeah. Right, exactly. So you've had a lot of side-by-side comparisons. So perhaps that's a separate video in and of itself, but let's do that. Let's bring back Versus. Let's do the first one, Lee Priest, KEONE Pearson, shot by shot, and see how that all plays out. So I think that'll
I think what a lot of people don't realize is, KEONE's got just a beautiful physique. I'm one of his biggest fans ever since he started, and he's been sending me pictures before he even started competing. So I love his physique. But what people don't realize is Lee was a lot bigger than KEONE. I think just mass wise. So KEONE's put together a little better than Lee, in terms of like structure and stuff like that. But Lee's got like the freaky body parts. It's a shame that we never saw them on stage at their peak together, because Lee competing nowadays against KEONE would never, Lee's not to say Lee was when he was young. So it would have been interesting to see him on stage and see who would have won. I think that KEONE has more bells and whistles, but Lee has the freak factor. And so I would have loved to have seen that. I would have actually liked to see that more than him versus Flex Lewis, because I think he would have beat Flex Lewis, only because his upper body was better than Flex's. Flex has got probably better legs, glutes, and hams, but I think that Lee was good enough in the legs to beat Flex. I think that KEONE would have been a tougher battle for him, so it would have been interesting if we could have seen that.
So we'll see. We'll do a little virtual fantasy matchup, whatever, and go shot by shot and see how that all plays out. Interesting question here, because last week and really over the last few weeks, ever since the Trump transition or retransition into the White House, there have been some talk as far as what he would legalize, what changes we might see, legality wise, that may or may not affect the bodybuilding industry. So this kind of feeds into that conversation. The question is from Matt Black. Yesterday, the U.S., the new press secretary, she announced that any form of media, so that covers podcasters, online news outlets, etc., meaning us as well, and the other media outlets within the bodybuilding space, are allowed in the press conference, the White House press conferences, with press passes. Would you or any other person in this industry consider advocating, assuming we were to get that kind of access, advocating for testosterone, some steroids, and other hormones for men's health? I think it's a great opportunity to get the message straight to the White House from the bodybuilding world.
Well, first of all, if I thought getting press passes from MVP was difficult, I can't even imagine what the White House must be like. Can you imagine Dave Lobo gets his press passes revoked from the White House? You know what the funny thing is? I probably have an easier time getting it from the White House than I would from some of the past Olympia before Jake went on. But anyway, that's another story. I think that I would never go in there and start asking about testosterone in the press conference. You know, the truth is that testosterone replacement is legal. I mean, it's not. No one's saying you can't do that anymore. This was something that back when I was, starting in the 90s and early 2000s, you couldn't do. You could write prescriptions for testosterone now, and no one is getting arrested. I remember when they first started doing that. I had a very good friend who was a doctor, and he was getting. The DEA would be in his office, like, every 6 months, like looking through his records and stuff like that, like as if he was, writing, Adderall, or, OxyContin prescriptions. I mean, so they definitely eased up on that. Whether, the other anabolic steroids would be more readily available. That's what I'd love to see, where they decriminalize them, so there was no longer controlled substances. And once they're not controlled substances, doctors could write prescriptions like they used to for them, and no one's going to question it because it would be like an antibiotic prescription. That would be something great. I don't know if I would ask that in a press conference at the White House. It's probably not the most pressing topic to be asking about, but it would be cool if I could get press passes and go to some of the press to go to a press conference at the White House. That would be kind of nice. Dave Palumbo representing RxMuscle here. I have a question to Donald Trump. But I'm glad that they're doing it. I think they should, because I think the podcasters nowadays, guys like Rogan and Patrick Bet-David and some of the other podcasters out there, are probably getting way more views, Megyn Kelly, than regular news outlets. So they absolutely should have access to the press.
It's views, Dave, but they're also the ones shaping the narratives now among
so
many people.
No one watches the conventional news anymore.
There's no connection between you, the American viewer, and a news, anchor, right? There is no connection there. They're telling you.
You know why? Because when Walter Cronkite was the news anchor back in the 70s, people actually believed him because he no matter what his political views were, he reported the news unbiased. Nowadays, the conventional legacy news, anchors are beholden to the advertisers. So they're like Trump said, it's fake news. They're only giving the news that they're allowed to report, and that means they're biased. And no one wants to watch biased news, agency. If I know the person is promoting an agenda, I'm not going to believe what they're saying. So the podcasters have taken over the Walter Cronkite position. Hey, this is reality. This is what's going on, whether you like it or not. And so I think that's why the younger generation doesn't watch the legacy news. And these legacy companies like MSNBC, and they're all up for sale, going out of business because they're just not bringing in the ad dollars anymore. And once Kennedy bans, pharmaceutical ads on these stations, they're going to go out of business completely, because then they're going to have no revenue.
So yesterday we did an episode of After Hours, probably one of the more heated, and this was not one of the WWE Royal Rumble types. This was actually like heated real argument. It was about obviously the fight last week, the gym fight with Patrick Moore and the gym owner in Texas, and it sparked this whole debate about whether pros. I'm just trying to find this comment. Yeah, it's from Pipes. He said, "No question. Just wanted to say that I agreed with Dave 150% on the After Hours debate concerning gym membership. The pros should never have to pay a gym membership if they're already paying a monthly rent and bringing in new gym members. This shouldn't even be debatable." But again, go check that episode out. Very, very raw, very real, and very heated. Much akin to the throwback days of After Hours. So I'm glad we kind of channeled that spirit. But handshakes at the end. It was a great.
Sid, I never. Seriously, up until just recently, I never paid for a gym membership ever, anywhere. Never. No one, everyone, and it wasn't like I went in there like an asshole and said, "Hey, I'm who I am." I wasn't even a pro. And these gym owners would say, "Dave, you can train at our gym." Matter of fact, I had a couple gyms that would pay me to come down and train like on a Monday night. I would go to Mid City Gym. They would buy me dinner and they would give me money to come in to train on Monday nights there, just because they wanted to attract a hardcore crowd. They want to say, "Hey, Dave Palumbo trains here." You know what I mean? And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't even a pro at the time. So, I mean, I was one of the biggest guys at the time, but still, it's got to be some level of opening up the doors to the top level guys in our sport, top women in the sport, to say, "Hey, you know what? We want the creme de la creme in our gym. And look who we got. I got, Dorian Yates here, or hey, I got, Rich Gaspari here, or hey, I got, KEONE Pearson in my gym." It would be an insult to KEONE as Mr. Olympia to charge him for a gym membership, or charge Sean Clarita for a gym membership. That would be blasphemy. I don't even know how these guys can even think that there's any degree of anything being right about that. They shouldn't pay at all, even if they don't train people there. But if you train people, anyone who trains anyone in the gym, I don't care if you've been training people for one day. If I'm working at a gym and I'm bringing in members into that gym and I'm paying you rent, I train for free. That's how it works. I'm an employee. Even though I might be an independent employee, I'm still an employee. Why don't you want the guy who's training people in the gym to be able to work at the gym? You want him to go to another gym down the block, that his friend is letting him train at? No, I want him at my gym. He's my employee. It's the stupidest. I don't know where these guys were thinking. It's the stupidest thing not to give these guys a free membership. Now, granted, there's the woman who won the bikini over 60, and that the pro card at the Masters Nationals. I'm not going to give her a free membership, okay? I can't give everyone a free membership, but there are certain people that are a high statue that are on an Olympia stage that people respect and have good following on Instagram. Those people I'm going to extend a free membership to. So, I just don't know where they're coming from on this.
Well, I mean, look, again, everybody has different perspective. And they're coming from a business owner perspective, maybe, and that's just the way they see things.
That's short.
I can tell you my own I can tell you my own personal perspective.
Before you get to that, I'll give you an instance.
Yeah.
Bob Bonham, love the guy, may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Even Greg Valentino said this. Bob Bonham used to have The Rock used to come in there when he would be in Jersey. He would train at Bob's gym, Strong and Shapely. And one day he needed a T-shirt. He forgot his shirt. Bob gives him a T-shirt, and The Rock comes in maybe 3 months later, to train again. And Bob's like, Dwayne, you got that money for that T-shirt I gave you? Who in their right mind would try to charge The Rock for a T-shirt? It's the greatest advertising you can ever get, this guy wearing your T-shirt for your gym that says Strong and Shapely on it. Bad move. Like, that was a bad business move that Bob made, because Bob was a little cheap. But the point is that you got to look at the picture. Marketing is the most important thing to get people into your gym.
No, absolutely. I mean, again, to a much lesser extent. I mean, again, the RxMuscle audience who watches, and again, I've shared my own story. I've been going to beds for the last about year and a half or so, and it's like, again, why do I? And I say I as in there's a whole cross section of people like me who are not bodybuilders. Why do we go to beds? Right? We go to beds because you do have, if they're not professional bodybuilders, you have serious bodybuilders. You have people that set a certain culture of a gym, and that attract other people, that attracts athletes from other sports. I mean, I go there and I see people walking around like blah, 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 university football, blah, 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 with the baseball, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, because people know that if they're a serious athlete or if they're a aspiring bodybuilder, that's the place to be. Why? Because they know they're going to walk in, they're going to see someone like a Max Charles, and, rest in peace, Eugene Mission, or, some other, big name, they're training themselves or training other people. You see our good friend John Effer there all the time. He's bringing in clients. I mean, again, it sets the culture of a gym. Nobody wants to act out of order. You'll never see a single, dumbbell out of place. Nobody will ever, God forbid, not put their stuff back because you're going to be ostracized. Everybody falls in place, and it just creates for more of a productive environment, productive gym experience. So again, that's my perspective. John, Larry, Greg are going to have their own perspective as far as, again, people who have, own gyms or what have you. And again, maybe from their perspective. And obviously, it's going to be someone like you, a hardcore bodybuilder at heart, who has seen the other side of the coin as far as other gym owners attracting you, inviting other top bodybuilders. So
Ed,
it's a
Ed
nuanced
Connor's
debate. It's a good debate, but again, it was born out of the whole Patrick Moore situation. It is what it is. But again, if you haven't already done so,
watch the episode. Watch the episode.
After hours, and then of course Heavy Muscle Radio, where we
Don't get
actually
me started
chat
again here. Don't get me
Patrick
started.
Moore. Yeah. I did want to take this question. It was from Raw Muscle Glutes. Love the name. It's a contest prep question. Let me pull it up. Do you have any experience using colonics or rigorous enemas for contest prep as a way to lose that last bit of bloat? Have you ever practiced that with any class? Obviously, look, you've always talked the merits of Fiberlize in the last few days leading up to a show, but this kind of takes it to another level.
I tried both. That's why I developed Fiberlize. So I did try a colonic once, and I tried enemas because I did have trouble going to the bathroom early in my career. Before, as soon as I would start carbing and cutting water, I couldn't move, and it was terrible feeling getting on stage with a full belly, where you couldn't go to the bathroom. And so people said try enemas, I tried a colonic once, and the problem with those is that they empty you, but they irritate the gut. A lot of them disrupt the gut bacteria, which no one knew about back then. So in other words, they wipe out the good gut bacteria and they irritate your gut. So what happens is, you're empty, but then you have a distension a little bit, or you sometimes get an inflammation type going on in the gut, and that makes you feel a little bloated. So it never really worked well. And then someone turned me on to fiber. There was a guy, my late friend Anthony DeRezzo, may rest in peace. He had a friend in Florida who he turned me on to, and he started educating me a little bit about fiber. I didn't really know very much about it. And now I started studying more about it myself, and I realized, and I started using a fiber supplement, and oh my God, what a difference! If once I started using it on a daily basis, I never had the problem. I never had a problem not going to the bathroom. So the second half of my career, I was able to empty my gut because I knew what to do. And if you do it on a regular basis, you don't get the irritation, you don't get the inflammation, and soluble fiber actually feeds the gut bacteria, so it makes it healthier. And so once I learned all this, when I stopped competing, one of the first few products I made was a fiber supplement. Everyone told me I was crazy, no one's going to buy it. I said, no one knows how good fiber is. And this is before I really started talking about it in a public way. And so I started educating people. And once people, I went out and bought the best ingredients. I got the highest swell rate psyllium, and I put this formula together with a great tasting, flavor system. And people were like, holy mackerel, this stuff is unbelievable. And then people started, now the word is spreading, obviously, like wildfire, because through all the education I do, and then through other people who are getting great benefits from it. But that's the way to do it. Colonics and enemas irritate the gut. They inflame the gut. They kill the good bacteria. You don't want to do that. If you use a fiber supplement on a regular basis, you're not going to have any trouble going to the bathroom. And guess what? Your stomach is going to look the best it's ever looked.
I did want to sneak this one in before we go. It's specific to people that have a history of blood clots, and if it's safe for them to go on TRT. I'll expand that a little bit. Is there a profile, a health profile, again, blood clots being one of them? Is there a health profile of anyone that should avoid going on TRT?
Now, TRT doesn't really affect blood clotting at all. So there's no worry that, it's going to make you clot more or it's going to make you clot less. I never noticed that. I do notice that certain nutritional supplements can do that. So like fish oils, vitamin E, ginkgo biloba, these supplements will make you less likely to clot, especially the fish oils. But I've taken blood anticoagulant stuff when I was getting some of my surgeries for my shoulders and stuff like that. And I stayed on the fish oil and I didn't have any problem. Like, I wasn't excessively bleeding. So I don't think that they add to it too much, and they work by different mechanisms. They just don't make the fish oils and vitamin E just make the platelets not be as sticky. So I wouldn't say that certainly not from hormone replacement. You don't have to worry about it. Another question I got from someone recently was, they said, I read online that if you've had a heart attack, you can't take TRT. And I said, where'd you read that? So they screen captured it. AI is great and it's terrible, because AI just basically scans the net and pulls whatever it can down. And someone somewhere must have written something about the fact that, if you have a heart attack, don't take TRT. That's absolutely not correct. As a matter of fact, a lot of the cardiologists and cardiovascular surgeons, when I had my aorta repair, I asked them specifically, should I stay on my TRT when I get the surgery? He's like, absolutely. He's like, because you're going to recover better. You don't want to crash your testosterone. And so, as long as you're on physiological dosages, which are mimicking, normal ranges, you have nothing to worry about. If you're starting to obviously be doing cycles, that can put stress on your heart. But there's no reason to not take HRT if you need it. Even look, some guys are like 600 testosterone total, and they want to get to 850, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to take HRT to bring yourself up a little higher, that's fine, as long as you're not going ridiculously high. And I think that's the key point.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder right now, speciesnutrition.com between now and Friday. 2 bottles of Somalize for free. We are running low, so you have to take advantage of this now. Any purchase at speciesnutrition.com, no minimum order, you get 2 free bottles of Somalize. Usually retails at around $55. So you're getting those for free. 2 bottles for free with any minimum purchase at speciesnutrition.com. This is only through Friday. All new episode of Heavy Muscle Radio, all new episode of the After Hours podcast. If you haven't already, as well as we have a teaser clip from Dave's interview with Eddie the Beast Hall. We're going to be unloading the full interview tomorrow. So if you're watching this today, tomorrow we're going to do the full interview of Eddie Hall, the Beast Hall, former world's strongest man. But the teaser clip where he calls out Hathor Bjornsson, that too live on the channel. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss any of our shows, segments. Of course, the Arnold Classic is in a month, so we're going to be revving up the preview segments, interviews, and everything that we do relevant to our Arnold Classic coverage. You're not going to miss anything if you subscribe below and hit that notification bell. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.